rinses. Okay, this is a closed passage, of course. How many blanks do we have? Okay, we have 10 blanks. All right. So let's quickly look at this. I think this will also help us because the pattern that we had for English is also 10 blanks. But keep in mind, slight format variation at least for a couple of slots where they had a word right after the blank, right? Just to kind of put you in a puzzling state, I guess. I think it was more to do with somebody who was fixed or stuck firmly there halfway through. So given the options, depending on the context, you need to understand one word in English will have different meanings in different contexts, right? So maybe if you look up the word fast, one of the meanings depending on the context will be stuck or fixed or firm, right? So looking at the context, keeping in mind our clue word stuck, it makes more sense, and the easiest or closest synonym will be firm. Okay, so one of the things that we always do for closed passages to quickly read so we can understand what the context is about and then pick or choose associated words, right? So let's have a quick read. Let's skim. The US is in the dash of a cleanup of toxic financial waste that will dash taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars at the very least. The primary manufacturers of these hazardous products dash multi-million-dollar paychecks for their efforts. Okay, so why shouldn't they dash to pay for their mop-up? This is, after all, what the US Congress dashed in 1980 for dash of actual toxic waste. Under the Superfund law that dashed that year, polluters dash for the messes they make. Environmental lawyer E. Michael Thomas sees no dash. Lawmakers couldn't demand the same of financial polluters and dashed them to ante up some of the bank bailout money. So having read the context, it looks more like some guys are not following the law, right? And according to certain laws, whatever, they should be doing it. So why can't we ask them to do that, right? That's what the context is talking about. Because these guys are kind of doing something that is not right. Hazardous products, they are producing or manufacturing hazardous products, and they are not taking responsibility to clean up after their mess, right? That's what the context is talking about. I mean, if you look at the topic sentence, it says they are in the process of cleaning up toxic financial waste. So the entire context is revolving around this. There are these guys who are contributing to that hazardous waste, and we need to make sure that they pay for it, right? They do whatever they need to do to get this out of the way, so it is no longer posing a problem. Okay, now that we have an idea, let's quickly look at the context. Options. The US is in the dash of a cleanup of toxic financial waste. The US is in the essence, debate, range, depth, midst. The logical thing to quickly opt for blank one is, they are in the, if I have to substitute my own word in the blank, I'll say US is in the middle of doing this. What? Cleaning up of toxic financial. They are in that process. They are going through that, right? So not essence, not debate, and also understand the context is revolving around a negative thing, right? It has brought up an issue and they are trying to find ways to get rid of that problem, right? So not range, definitely not debate, unrelated word totally, not depth, but in the midst. That's the most logical option that you will pick. The US is in the middle of a cleanup of toxic financial waste. They're going through that process right now. That will dash taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars at the very least, right? Dwindled, something is dwindling means something is kind of coming down, dwindling, decreasing, right? So the US is in the midst of a cleanup of toxic financial waste that will dash taxpayers. So we're looking at what are our options? Facilitate, save, benefit, cost, earn. I want you to pay attention to the following context also, right? It says the primary manufacturers of these hazardous products dash multi-million-dollar paychecks for their efforts. So given the context, they will have to pay for it, right? Which means not facilitate, not save, nor benefit, nor earn. It will cost them so much. Your clue phrase being at the very least, right? Hundreds of billions of dollars at the very least. So they'll at least have to end up paying this much. So the US is in the midst of a cleanup of toxic financial waste that will cost the taxpayers hundreds of billions in dollars at the very least. So they will have to pay. So the primary manufacturers of these hazardous products, what do? Pay checks, which means they collected so much money, right? So what is the word that is giving that sort of a meaning? They definitely not donated it. Multi-million-dollar checks, whatever they did for their efforts, they collected it, right? Demand, illogical. Dwindled, unrelated word. They did not spend, the right word is pocketed. They pocketed it, right? They made sure, boss, I know I'm producing a hazardous products, but at the end of the day, I made profit. So they pocketed multi-billion-dollar paycheck for their efforts. Now let's move on. So why shouldn't, so now we have a context. They're saying, hey, anyway they have so much money, right? So why shouldn't they dash to pay for their mop-up? What are the options? Have, admit, hesitate, come, defy. What's the right word? Defy. Defy means you're resisting or if you're refusing to do something. So why shouldn't they have to pay for their mop-up? They are the ones who created this mess, right? And anyway they have enough money. So why can't they pay for their mop-up, meaning that mess, right? So have, not come. So why shouldn't they come to pay for their mop-up, right? They're not asking them to come anywhere. Why shouldn't they have to pay? They have to pay for their makeup. Think of it like that, right? So why shouldn't they have to pay for their mop-up? This is after all what the US Congress dashed in 1980. So now they're saying, hey, as per law, right? The US Congress, something they did in 1980. It looks like they came up with some sort of a law, right? For dash of, so what do you do when you have actual toxic waste? What is the right procedure in case, right? You deny something means somebody has a right to that and you are not giving that to them, right? You're denying their right. Defy means you're resisting to obey. You know, you're refusing to obey. So this is definitely a difference between defy and deny. Okay. So here in the context, what are the options? Admonished, visualized, decreed, refrained and commented. What do you think? So they're saying what the US Congress said what to do with the actual toxic waste for dash of actual toxic waste. Let's also quickly look at point 6, right? Just to make sure. Options are producers, users, consumers, advocates, exponents. Also, you know, a closed passage is all about context, right? We've already, the previous context is already talking about producers of these hazardous products. So obviously it has to be producers to be in sync with what's happening in the context. So sixth one is A, but what did the US Congress do in 1980? People, some of you said admonished, some of you said decreed. See, admonished means like you're scolding someone, right? It's like more like a reprimand. Here we are talking about a particular law that was supposed to be followed by whoever is producing this actual toxic waste. They are supposed to do something. So the right word will be decreed, C, and not admonished, right? The US law is not scolding the producers of actual toxic waste. In 1980 they probably came up with some sort of a rule that these guys need to follow, right? Yes, but even here it's not about a warning, it's about something that was supposed to be followed, because the next context is giving you that support, right? It's saying under the Superfund law dash that year, polluters dash for the messes they make. So the next sentence is actually supporting option C and not option A. Okay, under the Superfund law, what are the options for 7? Abandoned, enacted, revoked, forced, squashed. What can be the, so I need a word that is bringing in the meaning of something that was made into law. Okay, see, admit is only when you did something wrong, but here these guys are completely oblivious of the fact that they are polluting the environment and they are causing these hazardous products to just stay there and not do anything about it. So admit is not the right word here. We are saying you will admit only when you agree to something that you've done wrong, right? But these guys are not agreeing to something that they're not even saying that, hey, we did something wrong. At the end of the day, they are making a lot of money producing these toxic wastes which are helping some industries, some companies, right? So admit is not the right word here. Okay, for blank 4. Now coming back to 7, right? Yes, so because that whole context of 5th and 6th blank and 7th blank goes hand in hand. So the right word has to be enacted. Enacted means what? To make into law, to bring something into law. So under the Superfund law, that's your clue word, law, right? Enacted that year, polluters dash for the messes they make. Options for 8, demand, consider, regain, claim, pay. So again, right, look at this. Words that are repeated in the context, right? Context, keep looking at context, preceding sentence, following sentence. Obvious answer is E, pay. Okay? So, under the Superfund law, enacted that year, polluters pay for the messes they make. So, this is what happened in that year when this law was put. So, why not we ask them to do that again? Now, why are we not catching hold of them and making sure they pay for the messes that they have created? That's what they're saying. Anyway, they have made a lot of money doing this. So, let them pay for it, right? Moving on, environmental law E. Michael Thomas sees no dash, lawmakers couldn't demand this. That's what they're saying. I don't understand why I can't make them do that. So when I just gave you an example sentence, right? What will be the right word for 9th blank? I see no reason why lawmakers couldn't demand the same of financial polluters. In fact, I see no reason is a collocation, right? I see no reason this should be the cause why the lawmakers should demand these guys to pay for the pollution that they are letting in the environment, and dash them to ante up. So I see no reason lawmakers blah blah, where is reason? D. And dash them to ante up some of the bank bailout money. Option 10, dupe them, follow them, force them, plead them, appeal them. What's the right word? So he's making a strong statement here. Michael Thomas, he's saying, hey, I see no reason why lawmakers couldn't demand the same of financial polluters, and what do you need to do then? You don't have to dupe them, follow them, unrelated word, plead with them. Again, there's no, he's already very, very strong in his statement. He's not going to plead or beg or whatever. Appeal is again incorrect word. So what's the right word? Yeah, force them to ante up. What's the meaning of ante? Ante up means pay up, right? Pay up some of the bank bailout money. That's it. So are you following the context? See, actually in this close passage, if you ask me, there are a lot of repeat words in the context itself which will help you identify the right answer option, right? Like to pay here after the 4th blank. That was helpful for you to choose the right word in 8th blank. Law here before the 7th blank was helpful for you to choose the word for the 5th blank. Decree, something that they put into law, right? So keep looking at the context itself. Yes, dupe means to cheat.